So, hey, Troy, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hey Chris, how you going?
Yeah, good, mate, good. Thanks for joining the podcast, guest number one. And you and I have spoken a fair bit, but and we kind of know each other. But I just wanted to throw it back a little bit, and just sort of ask you, what was your first encounter with music, and what was your earlier life growing up like?
Yeah, look, I'll try and sort of keep it minimal because I have a tendency to overshare sometimes. Long story short, like I
No,
grew
feel
up
free to
like
share. Go.
my like it wasn't really a musical household or anything. Like my dad liked music. He was into some really like I don't know. When I grew up, he had some really random music. Like he was into Barbra Streisand and all this sort of like I would say old fogey sort of stuff. Um, and and then it wasn't really until I listened to music. And then I guess it wasn't really until high school. Um, and I don't know, I guess I wanted to learn guitar. Just there was something in me that just wanted to learn guitar. Um, we had like a music night in year seven and you could go along and like you could pick an instrument to learn. But at the time, our high school was very much like big band and jazz based like music. So saxophone was like the coolest thing you could learn. And so I was like, no, I don't really want to do that. So I want to learn guitar. And so I started learning guitar, I think like maybe end of year eight. Um, and then from there, man, I just was like fully obsessed. Like I just knew once I started playing, like music was just my life. Like there was something in me that just come out that just knew absolutely that like this is what I want to pursue for the rest of my life. And I think also just quickly, like I also watched. It maybe would have been like a year or so after. I remember I was just watching TV one night and I saw this documentary, and it was this documentary on Sting, and he must have been recording like one of his solo albums. It was in the '90s, uh, and I remember him saying, like, oh, being a musician and a professional musician. I was like, oh, you can do that as a job. Like you can be a musician as a job. And then I remember coming out and telling my mum, like, I want to be a professional musician, after probably only playing a year's worth of guitar. And my parents probably like, whatever. But since then, man, it's been like just that's all I wanted to do. Yeah.
And that's so cool. And what was it? What were your early influences? Did you hear certain bands or certain artists that just made you, you know, obviously you mentioned the documentary about Sting, but what were your earliest influences for, especially around guitar? Like,
Yeah, man, I pretty much grew up in like 80s metal. Like, because a lot of my, um, like when I went to primary school, it was like late 80s, early 90s. So a lot of my mates had older brothers or siblings that, like, for example, when I started prep, I had a mate whose brother, that was 87 when I started prep. So, like, Def Leppard's Hysteria was out. And I remember him bringing the cassette to school and listening to him like, whoa, this is awesome. And so from there, like I would listen that my mates' brothers had their music and they'd take their brothers' tapes to school and we'd listen, it was like AC/DC or Alice Cooper and all this stuff. So from there, I kind of like was like hell bent on that stuff. And then obviously growing up, I was into grunge and got into 90s stuff and was really big on those bands. But I guess the cornerstone of what my tastes are probably like heavy guitar rock music. Although I will listen to anything. Like I'm into Enya, I'm into classical music, whatever. But that's where the foundation comes from there. Yeah,
yeah, mine was fairly similar actually. I remember hearing albums like Doctor Feelgood by Motley Crue,
yeah,
and I
man.
remember early Bon Jovi too, like Slippery When Wet and New Jersey, and that
Yeah.
stuff was just, that song "Lay Your Hands on Me" when John Bon Jovi
Oh
comes
yeah.
up out of the stage, and that's it. That just got me, man. I just thought this is so cool. I want to learn how to do that. So yeah, no, that's awesome,
Absolutely.
mate. That's great. And then and then obviously as you moved on, you started learn. How did you learn guitar? What was your approach? Did you learn chords and you play along with songs in your bedroom, or did you learn lead guitar? What was your approach? And also did you get lessons, or did you kind of just learn a couple of chords and go from
Yeah.
there?
So I
Or
started with lessons. I actually started because I had I've got a younger brother, so he was I think still at primary school, and so I got guitar lessons first off from our old our primary school music teacher who played guitar. So he'd come over to our house and like once a week and give me some lessons, and we just learnt chords. Like he could just play rhythm guitar, like just chords. He wasn't amazing or anything, but he knew how to play guitar. And we just learnt like Beatles songs. Like he'd just bring the chord charts and we'd play Beatles tunes and practice the chords. And then it got to a point where he's like, look, I can't teach you anymore. Like that's as far as I can go with you. And then so from there I went, I think for maybe a couple of months, because back then there was no internet or anything. So it was like the old trading post. So we found some ad, I found some dude, some heavy guy like in the burbs, and my mum, you know, looking back now, it's so funny. Like he's in this share house, there's like a mattress on the floor, and it's just, you know, I'll never drop my kids off to someone like that now. But I went with him for like a couple of months. He moved down for a band, actually. It was so funny. He was such a stoner. And then from there, we had this music teacher coming to our school in Year 9 who like transformed the school into rock music. It was amazing. Anyway, he brought in one of his mates who was a guitar teacher. And so from there, I got lessons from him.
So I guess from there, so you obviously went through your teen years. Have you been playing music ever since then, or did you kind of, you know, when you turned 18, were you always just set on being a musician, or did you go out and get a job, or how did all that work?
Yeah, so I was in heaps of school bands. We did the school band thing, and then I studied, actually, after Year 12, I studied music. I did a diploma in jazz and popular music for 2 years at TAFE, which was amazing, man. Like, it was literally 5 days a week for 2 years. You go there. So I got my dog here. You go there for...
No, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, you're just doing music for 2 years full time. It was amazing. So I met all these other musos, amazing, like, Melbourne's best musos were the teachers. So we learned theory, played in... It was just amazing. So I did that for 2 years. And then in that, I started down with my cousin who played guitar as well. And from then, man, just basically being in bands, like, the whole time. Obviously, I didn't do covers until like I started covers much later. So I was very much into the original thing. I was in a couple of metal bands. Two bands, the last sort of two rock bands that did went pretty well for the time we were in. And then, yeah, I think I started playing covers like 2015. I started to get into covers, and then probably went full time with covers maybe about 2017 or 18, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you were in the bands, I mean, what are some of your highlights of the bands that you were in, and like some of your achievements that you made with them?
Yeah, so probably one of the biggest ones we did, I was in a band called 21 Summers. So this is back in the heyday of emo. So this is between 2005 and say 7, when emo was just massive. And it was actually a really cool time to be in a band, because back then there was so many. The live music scene in Melbourne was like, and not just Melbourne, like Australia and around the world. It was insane. Like everyone was going to see bands. So many venues were putting on shows because of this whole emo and heavy rock scene. Heaps of underrated gigs. It was insane, man. It was a really fun time. And within that band, there was what was called a tour that came. It was a worldwide tour. So it was basically a bunch of popular emo bands, and it was called the Taste of Chaos tour. So there's like, say, six bands that came out, and they played like the main 6 venues in, like the Tennis Centre and whatnot. So our band won a competition to be a support band for that tour. And I think we played at Hisense Arena, which is, I think, maybe John Cain Arena now. So I think we played in front of 7,000 people, which was pretty awesome. That would definitely be the highlight. And then after that, I joined another band called Ashes Affair, and nothing as big as that, but we put a Getaway Plan, another band similar, and just did a lot of awesome gigs. It was just a really fun time, hang out with other bands. It was really cool. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, wow. I mean, playing in an arena, obviously, and playing to 7,000 people. That's that's something I haven't done in my career, but that would have been pretty awesome. I mean, was that a nerve-wracking time for you to be able to do that, or was it just sort of go with the flow at the time? There was a lot of things happening, or walk me through that experience.
Yeah, so in all these bands, like I was never playing guitar, always just sang. So because I play guitar, And for the majority of the bands, I wrote or co-wrote most of the tunes because I played, but we never. It was one of those things where, like, when I joined these bands, it was like always started them. I'm like, who's going to sing? And no one ever wanted to sing. And because I was kind of like in the mindset, like I wanted to do this full time. Like I actually went out and got vocal lessons because I wanted to do it properly. And that, not that, not that if you listen back now, like it's just the first bands I, sound horrendous. But I ended up just singing by default because no one else did it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to do it. And it had a bit of front about me, so I decided to do it. So, but playing at John Cain Arena was, I don't know, man. I remember getting there early because I think Parkway Drive are actually like the first main band on, and they blew everyone away. They were like, I forget the other couple of bands. I think there was Sayerson and Census Fail and a couple of other bands, but Parkway were like, they were just coming up. And so we were like the support with another band. I think there was two local supports, and then there was Parkway, and then there were the other ones. But like Parkway just totally blitzed the whole night. It was insane. But yeah, man, going there, getting there for sound check, and just looking at this empty arena.
Wow.
And I don't know, man. When you're like 24, you just think you're gonna conquer it. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't wait. I'm like, I'm gonna destroy this place. I'm like, give me how long's the mic lead? I'm just gonna go as far out as I can. So. But yeah, it was cool. Like it was, and I think I don't know. It's kind of I love that. Like even now, if I got not that I would probably do it now, but it's fun being a singer and not having to have an instrument because I felt like at the time you could be a lot free and move around, and it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool, mate. That's so cool.
Mm.
And so obviously, playing covers from 2015 onwards, and sort of where you are at now. And obviously the Bryan Adams tribute show, which you've obviously done one already, and there's a few more planned for the future as well. What sort of drew you to number one, Bryan Adams as an artist to be a tribute act for, but also moving into the tribute act scene? What sort of drove you to do that?
Yeah, so I just grew up, I guess, hearing Bryan Adams on the radio, really liked him, but it wasn't until actually I borrowed like his best of CD. It was the one with the car tire wheel. I think it was I forget the title. So Far So Good, I think it was. And I just borrowed it from a friend at school. And aside from, I guess, probably Summer of '69 and Heaven, I probably hadn't heard many of his other songs. I remember listening to that best of, and I was like, "Wow, he's got some awesome tunes," And I went and saw him. I think he was one of the earlier concerts I saw. I've seen him twice. I saw him when I was like 20, I think, when he came out. I forget which album it was, but might have been when I was 19 or 20. I went with a friend. And I don't know, man, fast forward like a couple of years ago before I moved to Hobart, from memory, I had this idea of like, I thought, it'd be really cool to like do like an acoustic, best of a Bryan Adams, because like my rock days and band day, like now I'm since I've been doing acoustic guitar and covers, I just love doing the acoustic stuff. I don't even own an electric guitar anymore. I just love playing that type of music now, and it's my voice is suited to that now. So, and then I thought nothing of it, and then I don't know. Long story short, we moved to Hobart, and then within 6 months here, that idea popped up in my mind again. And I was like, it sounds really cool in theory, but I had no idea how I'd even pull this off. And then, long story short, I got in. From memory, I thought to myself, well, I'm going to do it. There was one point I must have heard something in some motivational speech, and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to start learning the songs, and hopefully things can kind of unravel as they go. I've got 24 songs to learn, so hopefully in that time, things can present themselves to me. And then, lucky enough, I found this guy called Darren Coggan, who's another Australian artist who's in the sort of tribute scene, I guess, who does the John Denver and Cat Stevens one. He's been doing them for a while, and he emailed him, hit him up for some advice, said, hey, look, I'm just doing this. I'm completely out of my depth here. I had no idea he'd be able to maybe offer some advice, and since then he's kind of been my mentor. So he's helped me with all the questions that I've had regarding where to play, So without him, I don't know, it's probably still be an idea, to be honest, yeah.
Having a mentor obviously is, a massive thing, just to reach out to fellow people that are in the community that have done what you want to do. That's awesome, mate. And Bryan Adams, I mean, Bryan Adams is such a. They just don't make artists like that anymore. You know, I sort of you think of Bryan Adams, you think
Mm.
of Rod Stewart, those sort of real rock with a rock bass, but like really well
Yeah,
produced songs. You know, lots of different variety. It's just the music landscape has changed so much now that I don't know. Unless I'm
he's
looking
one
in the
of
wrong
those.
place, I don't really sort of. You don't see any artists like that anymore, right?
Yeah, he's. I don't know, man. It's crazy when you look back at like when he did, because he did I think 2 albums before he did Cuts Like a Knife. And then like even when he did Cuts Like a Knife, I think he was like 22 or something. And you just like, where does this guy's voice come from at 22? You know, like, but it's weird. It's like the
Yeah.
80s just came in and like all these dudes had like these amazing rock voices with these crazy vocal ranges and blazing guitar fingers that came out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden we've gone from the 70s and then bang, like this decade of just like amazing musicianship just came out of nowhere, you know? But yeah, but he's,
Mm.
like I mean, he's still amazing now. If you check him out now, he's like mid 60s and his voice is still like, sounds like in the 90s, he's still doing as much as what he did back then. So
Yeah.
he's doing really well still, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably one of the rare cases actually that especially those '80s singers, the rock singers, and
Yeah.
it's hard to maintain, really hard to maintain a voice like that. Especially moving into your 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s. It's you see so many singers that are really struggling nowadays with
Mm,
keeping up with what they wrote in their 20s. It's yeah, crazy.
yeah. Well, if you look now, it's quite interesting. If you look back at some older DVDs, oh, sorry, not DVDs, YouTube videos of him back in the 90s, he actually, you would argue that he might even be a better. His voice obviously has changed a bit better, but it's like I would say he's almost his clarity in his voice is a lot better because back then he's really sounded raspy when he was singing live. You could see like his veins popping out of his neck, and he just seemed like he was obviously giving it everything, but it just seemed like he was really working his throat. But now when you see him for the last couple
Yeah.
of just the videos I've seen online for the last couple of years, he still sounds the same. He has that grit, but I don't know, he just seems to sing a lot more with a lot less stress, so to speak, in his, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. He's yeah. But
Yeah.
you're right. He's like one of the rare ones.
I mean, he's probably got some a good vocal coach, that can teach how to replicate that, in a
Yeah,
less stressful way, maybe when he is older
yeah,
age.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned before, obviously in your early 20s, and I know a little bit about you today. You mentioned that,
Mm,
I guess that's determination and that sort of like just give it a go kind of thing
mm.
with music. Do you still have that today when in all the projects that you're putting yourself forward to? Does Troy Barrett have this, I guess, determination to succeed and enthusiasm for music today? Have you got that same sort of feeling about it?
Yeah, man. I would almost argue it's probably even more so, um, because I mean I'm 42 now, so I guess back then, in the 20s, and when you want to be in a band, you want to be, you want to get somewhere with it. You wanting to do it. More so probably for yourself. There's obviously you want to just I want to be a star. I want to do this. I guess when you have a family, I've got a couple of kids now, but also now being 42, like there's a lot of, I guess you hit an age where it's like, man, if you don't do some of the things that you've been talking about for a while, you're not going to do them. You'll never, and I don't want to get to a point where I'm too old to try them and look back and go, oh man, I wish I'd done that. Or I wish I'd tried it, even if it worked. Like I just wish I'd given it a shot. So now I'm very much in the mindset of like, man, I'm hell bent for leather. Like as much as I can do, around family and whatnot, I'm definitely I've got some big goals in my head that I want to try and pursue. And I'm more pumped and motivated, probably more so now than ever. Yeah, just because of where I'm at in life with the family and my age, and it's just like it's now or never. And I guess when you get to this age, you just don't care. Like you don't care what people think. I don't care what people think. They may see me, whether it's online, I may have old friends go, oh, I can't believe you're still doing that, or other family members. You just get to a point, man, and you're just like, whatever. I couldn't care. Like, I'm just going to do it. If it doesn't work, that's cool. But I'm going to give it a crack, and at least I can say when I'm on my deathbed, hey man, I gave it a crack. I gave it a shot.
Yeah, I can totally relate to exactly what you're saying as well. Like, you sort of hit an age where you just think that I don't know, man. Life's too short.
Absolutely.
You've just got to go for it and just do the things that you love.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day 9 to 5 and just back and forward and back and forth, and we've all seen it. We just see time just flies by so quickly. Years go by, and you say you're going to do something, and 3-4 years go by and you haven't done it. So it's all about just giving it a go and doing it today, and stop caring what people think, right?
Yeah, I guess, and not to go on, like, talk too much about my Bryan show, but, like, I guess when I decided to do that, that was like a goal that was, like, probably one of the first goals that I've gone for, that at the start I had no idea how I was going to pull it off. I knew that, like, if I'm honest, I heard it. I mean, I've been listening to self-help stuff for a long time, but I listened to this Bob Proctor video. I think it was one morning, and he's like, "You got to go for a goal that you have no idea how to pull it off, because you're going to have to grow as a person to do that." And I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. I have no idea. I don't know who I'm going to play with. I don't know where I'm going to play with, how I'm going to fund it. No idea, but I know I want to do it. So I'm just going to take the first step, which is just learning one of your songs, And what it did, it was so good, because it taught me that, like, wow, you've pulled this off. Like, it's in a snapshot. Like, it seemed like on the night of the show, like, because I remember as clear as day going up in our top bedroom, learning the first song, which was Cuts Like a Knife. It was a cold night, and, like, I'm just going to learn it. Learned the song, and then it was like on the night of the show, I'm backstage, and the guy's like, knock, knock, knock. Okay, 5 minutes till show time, and it's just like this time, it just like, I was like, wow, man, it seemed like yesterday I was just learning this first song, and then fast forward, I'm literally about to go on stage in a theater and play this to a couple of hundred people. And after doing it, it was like, whoa, I can't believe I actually did that. You know what I mean? And I don't know, it was just awesome, because for me, it was like, you've done that now, so you know what is possible to have done. You can do the next one. You can do it, or you can go bigger, because you've already pulled this off. And you didn't know how to do it at the start, but it happened. And so now it can be done. So now the next thing you want to go for, it can be done, because you've done that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so powerful, man. And, like, just from a thought, just the idea of something that you want to do, but not just a thought. You're taking action, like you said, that first step, learning one song, just taking a step, learning one song. And then obviously I imagine there's a series of actions after that. You learn a few more songs and a few more songs. Suddenly you're backstage. You're actually doing this thing. You've got your own tribute show. You got people out there waiting to hear you. Yeah, you're right. And just knowing that is now repeatable, right? You can do, if you can do that, you can do it again. You can push yourself to do something even bigger. So that's
it's almost
powerful,
like
man. That
you
is
kind
so
of
good.
level up to this. It's almost like mentally you kind of level up to this sort of, like, at the start when I did it, not to keep going on about this too much, but, like, just from a growth standpoint.
No, keep going.
At the start, you're very much like, who am I? Like, why would anyone want to come and see me play these songs? I'm just Troy Barrett. Like, why would anyone want to pay money to come to a theatre to watch me and my pianist Joel play these songs? And so then, when we got enough songs, and I'm starting to talk to my mentor Darren about, like, how much do I charge? And he's like, oh, you got to charge at least $50. I'm like, oh, $50, man. I'm like, you crazy? I haven't played in a band that's done an EP launch where someone paid $15 to come. And then you go through these different processes, and, like, oh, maybe I should charge 20. And then to a point, not to sound arrogant, once we did a lot of rehearsing over 2 years, Joel and I, and it was sounding really good. And then you start going, no, I know that I'm worthy of charging. Obviously not going, you charge what you think you're worth, but I felt comfortable going, no, I'm happy to charge $50 for that, because we've put in a lot of work, and I'm very happy with the output that we've done. And then, so once doing that now, it's like, I've done that, and then I'm like, okay, now I know I've done that. And then all of a sudden you're in this mental, like, you've kind of gone up the next bar where it's like, I'm not trying to get into this level. I'm on this level now. Now I'm wanting to do more shows and maybe bigger things. So I've kind of like jumped up to this next level, so to speak. If you know, like mentality wise, so to speak. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now that's great advice for musicians too. And I mean, I know myself when I started playing venues and doing sort of cover shows and other things and bits and pieces. Yeah, I remember the first couple of shows I did, I was just sort of blown away that I got paid at the end of doing it. I was so, it was just because I enjoyed what I did so much. I felt like I was sort of, this job was cheating, you know? And so I think a lot of musicians have that mentality of like, you know, they don't sell themselves enough, right? They think they're not worth enough because they're going out playing music for a living.
Yeah.
But like you said, you've just got to step that mentality up and move into that next level.
It's funny because like I see like here in Hobart, there's obviously not as many as in Melbourne, but there's some really talented musos down here. And I always say to them, like, man, like you guys should try and think of doing it. You don't have to go to the tribute act or you don't have to do that route, but it's just getting those people to like believe in themselves. They're like, it's like, dude, I'm telling you, you're amazing. Like you should try and, you know, you can do more than covers. Not to say that, because I still do covers, it's still really good. But I know that there's potential. I can see it in you to go a step up if you're wanting to, if that's what you're wanting to do. Like you should pursue that, because I think a lot of people, yeah, man, it comes down to self-belief. You just have to believe that you're worthy enough and you're, you know, I'll tell you what's funny, actually. You know where I got a bit of my self-belief from? It's actually my wife, which is quite funny because my wife, she tells it like it is. And I'm very lucky for that. She's not biased. If she thinks something sounds pretty crap that I've done, she'll tell me.
Good.
And it was a long time ago when I started covers. And she said, you know what? You actually sound really good singing. And I was like, whoa, really? And she's like, yeah, you do. And that, but because she is so honest, that actually meant a lot to me. And that really like backed my self-confidence. Like, well, if Manny thinks I can sing, but maybe I can sing, because I know she calls a spade, you know what I mean? And so when I've done other things in the past and she says, no, that's really good, then I'm like, okay, it must be reasonable, because she wouldn't say otherwise, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right, mate. Sometimes that's all you need. And I've had the same thing. I've had sort of gigs and, you know, releasing music and that sort of thing where just one person will come up and just say, you know, I really, really like, you know, and it's the genuinity of how they say it, if that's a word, genuinity. But it's you know, when someone's being genuine. You mentioned with your wife, obviously she's fairly critical, so you know that was genuine. But you can sort of sense when people you know, go out of their way and they say, oh, look, we really loved what you did there. You know, you sounded fantastic. And sometimes that's all you need. All you need is one person just to reciprocate back, just to give you that confidence to keep going. You know, it's funny because we are musicians, we're artists.
Yeah.
We're very self-conscious about how, like, are we good enough at each gig? Each gig, it's like, oh, did I sound good here? We're such perfectionists at what we do that we sometimes forget, you know, how good we actually we are and how good we're being received, you know?
Yeah. And I think like with covers, what's been good for covers with me is that like it's really helped me fine tune where my strengths lie. So for example, like when I got into covers, I might have sang songs, you know, tried to do them in all their original keys or whatnot. So but during these last years, it's really helped me refine. I know where my sweet spots are for my voice. I know where I'm out of my league and where I'm not. I know this is what, like, if I sing in this particular range, I know I'm going to kill it because I know that's comfortable for me and I know I can do that well. It's helped my guitar playing, like arranging songs and whatnot. So it's really helped me refine my style as to what I do. And that's kind of transferred over to the Bryan tunes because I've arranged those tunes in such a way that suits how I sound. And so I can sing them, you know, well within how I sound, you know. And I think when you're doing covers like yourself, you know, you do it enough that if you've got any awareness about yourself, you'll start to realize, all right, this I'm not so good at, so I'm just going to leave that be, but I'm really good at this. I'm definitely one of a person who I think I'm definitely a person who's in the category of like, don't try and balance out your weaknesses and like to get your weaknesses up to your strengths. If you're not as good as that, man, just go double down on your strengths and be known for being really good at that. Than trying to like being like equal across everything. You know, if I'm like, I'm not a soul singer, there's a dude in Hobart who's amazing at soul. There's no point in me trying to like be a better soul singer. I know I do this well, so I'm just going to double down on that, and hopefully that's my niche. That's what I'm known for doing, is this sort of style. Yeah.
I'm just nodding along with you there, mate, because that sounds exactly the same as my journey. You know, it's. I started out singing everything in the original key. I used to do "Sweet Child of Mine" in the original key, you know, and just bang up my voice every night. But you know, but yeah, so same sort of thing. But I wish it didn't take so long. But it does seem to take a little while to find your own voice, and that's a similar sort of spot where I'm at the moment in terms of you know, tailoring songs to the keys that suit your voice and the type of singing and all that sort of thing. So no, that's great, mate. And look at it. Obviously, I've seen a lot of clips of your Bryan show, and it's. I think I originally said to you, you know, how do you make it work? Because Bryan sings so high in a lot of different types of songs, and he has maybe a different sounding voice to a lot of people. But the way that you actually do it, it just sounds so great, mate, and it just suits your voice so well. All the songs, the way you perform it. So is there,
I guess the thing
can
is,
you
like,
tell us about another, when's the next Bryan tribute show coming out?
so depending on when this is going to air, like we're doing so we did one in March in Hobart, and then we're doing a second show on November the 16th in Devonport. And then I'm currently trying to put together about 5 or 6 shows in Victoria for next year in 25. So, and then, yeah, man, just progressively trying to build it up. And then, look, the aim is to eventually try and, you know, continually tour around Australia. And then I've got some grander visions for maybe overseas down the track if I can. Only because he's kind of like he's such a broad, he has such a broad audience base, you know, so there's a lot of people that seem to like Bryan Adams. He's not really niche. So I you know, as long as we can do a great show, I feel the audience is there. It's just a matter of doing it justice and then getting promotion out and seeing how we go, you know? Yeah.
That's awesome. And like in terms of influences of artists that you listen to, like right now, I think we spoke about some of your earlier ones, but like who I guess having time to play covers, learn a lot more about music. Is there artists that you appreciate nowadays that what's sort of in your catalog at the moment?
Of playing covers or just listening to music?
Yeah, and what you listen to as well. Yeah,
man, I listen to like like such a spectrum of music, man. Like I'll get up with your kids in the morning for breakfast, and I've got a little portable battery speaker we have in the kitchen, and some mornings it's like it's full metal for a couple of songs, and then we go to, you know, jazz guitar sort of stuff. Like I'll put on George Benson, and then it's like, I don't know, like it's dots all over the place, man. And then like I had Enya's CD going the other day because I love Enya, and then it really, yeah. I would honestly say my musical tastes have really no bearing on my covers because it's so broad. I'm just like a music. I'm probably much like yourself. Like I'm just a music lover. It doesn't really define. It doesn't really matter the genre. If there's something that like my ear just really likes the melody, the harmony, or whatnot, I just like it. It doesn't really matter what genre it is, you know. Yeah. And so in my covers, man, I guess look, if I'm honest, like I guess I probably lean more to 80s and 90s stuff because that's just what I generally listen to, and the demographic of people that I play to dictates kind of that. Obviously, I've got newer stuff, but I really just, I don't know. I'm not one of those people that maybe does covers and plays a lot of what they're into. I really try and just learn the stuff of the audience that I'm going to be probably playing to, and it just happens that most of the time the venues that I play at just have an audience that's like maybe 35 and over, and so that's just generally what I sort of end up playing.
Yeah, similar from my end too. And you mentioned Enya there. You know, I have to admit, I was in Melbourne. I couple of months ago actually, and I was like, it was a Sunday, and I had a few gigs that weekend, I'm not sure. I think my family was off doing something, and I was just had a bit of a day to myself. So I actually put some Enya on in my earbuds, and I went through the Melbourne. What is it? The art Melbourne. What am I trying? The art Melbourne Art Centre, where all the pieces of art are, and I was just listening to Enya, and I'm just looking at all these, pieces of art and things like that, and I was like, this is just so peaceful.
Dude, her album Watermark, it's phenomenal, man. And this is prior, I think, to digital recording. So to get those choral like chorus, and she like 50, 100 tracked vocals.
Oh yeah,
stacked, man, fully stacked. All those oohs and ahs and stuff.
Wow.
She'd recorded them like 70 to 100 times to get that whole like choir effect, so to speak. Yeah, insane.
Yeah. I can't believe we're talking about Enya here, mate. But it stands up today. I mean, it's it's amazing, mate. Well, look, I'm conscious of time, mate, and I know that you got to go. But look, thanks for coming on the podcast today, mate. If people want to check out your stuff, obviously the Bryan Show, where can they find you? Obviously Instagram, and I don't know if you can plug all those things.
Best place just for my Facebook and Instagram, Troy Barrett Music. Although I've tried to change you can probably type in either Troy Barrett Music or Troy Barrett Entertainment, and my website's troybarrettmusic.com. Yeah. But thanks so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks for coming on the podcast, mate.
It's awesome to see you getting this up and about, man. It's I reckon you got some big things ahead of you, Chris, for sure.
Appreciate it, mate. I just want to give a voice to other musicians, and I think you and I have had some conversations offline, which we've sort of said, look, it'd be great to just document this and see if we can help other musicians and talk about stuff that can help up and comers and things like that. So thanks for coming on, mate. It's awesome.
My pleasure. Cheers, dude.
Cheers, mate.